Proportional Response, Book 1, Chapter 21, Part 17, When Laws Collide. Jago Hoofer, American first mate of the privateer ship. Black Sail looked back and forth between the ship's main view screen and her captain as he paced. I know he expected this haul to finance us for a long time. Ill winds, he could have considered retirement with what is in those holds. But even if we put the problem of the command lockout aside, seizing a civilian ship as a privateer is... The captain abruptly stopped, a look of hard resolve on his face, and she felt fear grip her heart. The man sat down, pushed a few buttons to take direct control of the comms, and spoke. The Exultant can't hear or see him anymore. What is he? The captain's voice came out hard.
Alicia? You told me the other day that there are less than 100 hackers in all human space that are your match, much less your better. Care to prove it?
Hoofer heard laughter in Specialist Alicia's voice as she answered.
Clear command lockout on a Zoltan ship in under 5 hours. Sure, Captain, I can have that done for you.
The captain's face grew dark.
Unfortunately, you don't have 5 hours, you have 2. I want to make sure we are good and gone before those military ships get here. We are far too deep into Sultan space to get any help from our side, and I don't like the idea of being chased out of here.
Alicia clucked her tongue.
3 hours would be iffy. 2 hours is going to be a real challenge. Let me at it.
The captain nodded, and Hoofer could hear the woman starting to move before she'd even signed off. Hoofer stared at him with wide eyes, but he simply looked back at her, nodded, and motioned for her to put the plan into motion. She started to, quietly, give orders to the fire teams as her captain switched back over to speak with the enemy.
You are a real piece of work, you Exultant devil, I will give you that. Thank you. It wasn't a compliment. I know.
The Exultant then gave the widest grin she'd ever seen on one of his kind.
We are going to take your prisoners, of course.
The Exultant captain made a strange sound by clicking his claws together, which Hoofer's translation program informed her equated to a human, or a Thamiacan, clucking their tongue.
Captain, prisoners is such a harsh word. They are hardly prisoners. After all, no one enters into an indentureship contract without...
Running feet halted just outside the bridge door, and it opened to reveal a barely winded Alicia. As the doors cycled open, the fire team on the bridge took advantage of the distraction. Each of them bodily tackled a Zoltan or two and forced them to the ground. As they moved, Hoofer spoke into her own mic. All teams, secure and lock down all Zoltan crew. Do not fire unless provoked, but I want them all bound and on their knees. A flurry of activity played across her screens. The Zoltans reacted with confusion and, lacking orders to resist, complied with little more than the occasional token protest. Reports of prisoners secured started to come back almost instantly. By the time Alicia Maid walked across the thoroughly pacified bridge, all teams reported that they had things under control. The Zoltan captain looked around from his position on the floor with fury on his features.
What is the meaning of this? We have offered you no resistance and complied with your every command. Have you humans no respect? No understanding of the courtesies of war? Wait, you, human, what are you doing to that panel? That is delicate equipment, and I won't have your clumsy, clawless human mitts paw. Oof!
The captain went blessedly silent as the trooper holding him down finally leaned on him a little further. Hoofer allowed herself a small smile as she spoke into a channel which played audio into the ears of every member of her crew.
All hands not escorting Zoltan prisoners. We are moving the refugees to the Black Sail.
She began to give specific orders to various teams. Then, the Zoltan captain seemed to find his voice again.
I said, get away from there. You can't override that lockdown, you hairless monkey. It is impossible. Even if you could, I have read your so-called letters of marque. You are not allowed to capture our ships. Just take our cargo. What do you think you... Wargabble.
Hoofer continued to issue commands. Getting everything done in the time allotted was going to be a challenge. The trouble with this sort of maneuver is that cargo ships have those big doors and ramps for a reason. Getting everything and everyone through an airlock door is not going to be easy. It didn't take long to get the refugees out of that cargo hold, nor to get the Zoltan crew into it. However, she got another unpleasant surprise when she sent crew to start moving the refugees' food. The Zoltan crewman, with a rather smug expression, showed them to a storage room full from top to bottom with nutrient paste. Nothing but nutrient paste. She sat there blinking in disbelief at the screen for a few moments, then cut the audio and turned to her captain. He met her gaze and spoke before she could.
Yes, I know. The Thermocans in the refugees can't survive on nothing but that tasteless crap for long. What you may not know is that the Ventra and the humans won't fare much better than your people. Humans may not be obligate carnivores like your kind are, but we do need more protein than is in that garbage.
She saw his hand take a white-knuckled grip on the armrest, then suddenly relax, and a wicked grin came across his face.
Find the food stores for the Exultant crew. Take every scrap of food they have, and then enough of the paste to supplement rations on this ship so that everyone here, refugee and crew alike, will have enough to eat until we make it to a League station.
The captain looked thoughtful for a moment.
Wait, adjust that. Leave a few days worth of both food and nutrient paste just on their side of the airlock until I say otherwise. Bring the rest here.
The rest of the transfer went fairly smoothly until the Zoltan captain, who had been kept on the bridge, saw boxes of some foodstuff being carried from his ready room. The man screamed and swore about how the humans were to take the food for his cargo, not his crew, but a single menacing step from a human shut the idiot up. Hoofer felt some pride in that she and her crew got the transfer made with almost 5 minutes to spare, but Alicia still didn't have the lockout done. Everyone sat and quietly watched the clock run down to the appointed moment. When the timer came down to 1 minute left, the captain stood with obvious reluctance. He didn't get the chance to open his mouth, however, when Alicia let out a thrilled whoop, and the Zoltan ship's helm lit up. The Zoltan captain's eyes went wide, and he made a move for his guard's gun. The guard, however, obviously expected something, and clouted the guy across the nose hard enough that the camera's mic picked up the splat of the impact quite clearly. The Zoltan then looked at the camera and drew himself up to deliver another tirade, but Hoofer's captain spoke with a driving force behind his words.
Save your protests about the League law, you overgrown Kazakh. You stood there and threatened to starve the people you had in your hold, many of them from neutral races, to death, or expose them to risk of starvation at the minimum, in order to protect your precious cargo. You have also referred to those persons as cargo. These two things together, along with the fact that they are all obviously suffering from malnutrition and possibly other infirmities, inform me that you are treating and consider those sapient to be slaves, not indentures under contract nor refugees being returned. As such, under the League spacefaring laws of justice, I am seizing your vessel, its crew, and everything aboard. We will be taking you to the nearest League space station and will remand you into custody there. League courts will decide your fate, Captain.
She glanced at the screen, but the weapon jammed between the Zoltan captain's jaws made it difficult for him to reply. Alicia, however, practically bounced as she stood on the bridge. She hit the camera and gave one of those all-teeth human grins.
You paid for the best, Captain. I think I should get a bonus for this one.
The captain gave a loud chuckle.
I would think, you greedy git, that your normal share of the haul we are about to make would be enough to satisfy even you. But you make a point, so we will put it to the vote when the time comes.
Alicia's smile fell off, and her face looked fierce for a moment.
The vote, really? I mean, not like I think anyone would.
The sound of the captain's continued laughter must have come through the feed, because Alicia's grin, though somewhat diminished, returned, and she shook her head slowly but spoke in amused tones.
Okay, Cap, you got me on that one. I'll have to make you pay for it later.
The byplay from these humans. Sometimes it is amusing enough. Sometimes it is almost frightening. Hoofer brought her attention back to the present as her captain turned to her.
Tell someone to take the supplies sitting on the Zoltan side of the airlock and put them into storage on that ship. I also want anyone who was assigned to accommodate refugees and doesn't like it report to the Zoltan ship. Then you get your feathery little butt over there yourself.
Her head snapped up.
You mean?
The human gave her a lopsided smile.
Of course I do. You were a captain yourself before I convinced you not to drink yourself to death, right? And the crew respects you. Just don't get too used to it. I don't really expect the council to let us keep the thing. Not sure what they will do, but I expect they won't want other privateers like us getting ideas.
The thought of the council and what they might do tightened her shoulders in fear.
Are you sure about taking this action though, Captain? Council law, the letter of the law, allows captains a great deal of latitude in certain cases. Finding someone who is transporting slaves is one of the cases with the most latitude. It is going to go harder on us because of that letter of marque, rather than easier, I suspect, but that is fine. I want the captain of that ship moved over here. That's the reason I didn't have him thrown in the hole they were keeping the refugees in. Once you get over there, I want that ship under singularity as fast as possible. Not very worried about the heading, so long as it is in the general direction of league space. Jump for about half a light year. We will follow you. Once we get stopped, we'll dock again and shuffle cargo around. I want some of those valuables on this ship, and for us to make sure you and your skeleton crew will eat well, and to make sure that there is enough of that damnable pace on board your ship that no one will be able to accuse us of shorting that. Crew's rations. While we are shuffling cargo, Neff will plot us to the nearest station. Then we will turn that ship and these refugees over to legal authority and face the music, whatever it may be.
She stood and saluted, then left with a spring on her step. Something in the captain's manner gave her pause. It took her a few steps to pin the feeling down. They may seize the cargo from us as a warning from others, and they may even put all of us, or just the captain, in prison. Taking civilian ships is one of the things that League law frowns on the most, but slavery is on the very short list of things that the law condemns even more than that. Still, it is hard to say what will happen, but it means that the captain isn't doing this because he knows it is a big score. The risks are just too high. No, he is doing this as a warning to other captains like that Sultan. Don't threaten the lives of the indentures in order to keep your cargo. The council and the courts will see that and hang that Zoltan Cretin out to dry. To do anything else would be to encourage more of these kinds of shenanigans and could lead to some human privateer doing something extreme. She sighed as she reached the junction and crossed over to, however temporarily, her ship. We will just have to hope that they don't try to make an example of us as well.